Hello, and welcome to this Eureka City Council meeting, Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. We're so glad you're here. There's also a governor's debate going on right now, so there's a lot of things happening in this moment, so thanks for coming out. We will start this meeting with the land acknowledgement. The land that Eureka rests on is known in the Wiyot language as Jirojiji. Past actions by local, state, and federal governments remove the Wiyot and other indigenous peoples from the land and threaten to destroy their cultural practices. The city of Eureka acknowledge the Wiyot community, their elders both past and present, as well as future generations. This acknowledgement demonstrates the city's commitment to dismantle ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. If we could get a roll call, please.
Councilmember Castellano.
Here.
Councilmember Moulton.
Here.
Councilmember Fernandez.
Here.
Councilmember Bowers absent. Councilmember Contreras-Deloche.
Here.
Mayor Burgell.
Here. And would all who care to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. And was there a report out of closed session, City Attorney Black?
Mayor, no reportable actions were taken in closed session.
Thank you so much. So this moves us to proclamations. Our first proclamation is for Bike Month, and I see Stevie Luther is here, and I believe Councilmember Fernandez will be reading that into the record. Welcome.
City of Eureka, proclamation in recognition of Bike Month for Humboldt. Whereas bicycle travel is an effective means to improve air quality, reduce traffic congestion and noise, reduce energy consumption, increase physical activity, and improve public health. And whereas bicycle commuting benefits both employees and employers through better employee health and fitness, reduce costs for commuting and auto parking, and increase employee well-being. And whereas the city of Eureka continues to develop and improve its bicycle network through projects like recently completed C Street Bicycle Boulevard and planned Beta Zoo Trail. And whereas the League of American Bicyclists has designated the city of Eureka as a bike-friendly community at the bronze level because the city exhibits a sustained commitment to cycling. And whereas the League of American Bicyclists has designated May as Bike Month nationally, and whereas National Bike to Work Week is May 11th through the 17th, and National Bike to Work Day is Friday, May 15th, and whereas the Bike Month Humboldt Coalition offers many events for bicycle riders of all ages to bicycle in May, such as the bike-friendly business group rides along the Humboldt Bay Trail and the family-friendly bicycle celebration at the Jefferson Community Park on Saturday, May 16th. Now, therefore, I, Mario Fernandez, on behalf of Mayor Kim Burgell and the Eureka City Council, do hereby proclaim May 2026 as Bike Month Humboldt in the city, to encourage all residents and visitors to ride a bicycle to meet as many of their transportation needs as possible, and to support and participate in these and other activities that contribute to the health of the community and the environment. And 3, urge businesses to provide bike parking and other provisions to support bicycle use in the city. And 4, encourage its residents and visitors to ride safely when bicycling in the city, and for motorists to be safe and respectful of cyclists sharing the roads of the community.
Well, thank you, Council Member. And my name is Stevie Luther. I'm the Associate Planner at the Humboldt County Association of Governments and helping to plan Bike Month. We have a great array of activities going on. There's a mural ride in Manila this Saturday, a mural ride in downtown Eureka next Wednesday. And the best way to see all the events going on is just to go to bikemonthhumboldt.org, and we have a full calendar, and appreciate everybody's participation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I noticed we didn't have Ride Your Bike to Work challenge this year. I didn't see that. Maybe I'm wrong, but. I didn't hear. All right. So that moves us to our next proclamation, which is California Peace Officer Memorials Week. And we have someone coming forward for that. Hi, welcome. Come on up. The City of Eureka Proclamation in recognition of California Peace Officer Memorial Week, May 10th through the 16th, 2026. Whereas the state of California has declared the week of May 10th through May 16th, 2026 as California Peace Officer Memorial Week and Friday, May 16th, 2026, National Peace Officers Memorial Day in the city of Eureka. And whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week of May 11th through May 17th as National Police Week. And whereas the members of the Eureka Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the city of Eureka, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement personnel, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas the men and women of the Eureka Police Department unceasingly provide a vital public service. Now, therefore, I, Kim Burgell, Mayor of the City of Eureka, call upon all citizens of the City of Eureka and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 10th through May 16th, 2026 as California Police Week, with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all of our people may join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to their communities and, in so doing, have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. I further call upon all citizens of the City of Eureka to honor those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service in their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty, and let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. Let us especially remember those Eureka police officers who died in the line of duty: Pete Carroll, Pat Mitchell, and Charlie Swanson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph Couch, and I'm a patrol sergeant with the Eureka Police Department. Thank you all for being here. On behalf of the men and women of the Eureka Police Department, I would like to express our sincere gratitude for this proclamation recognizing Police Officer Appreciation Week. This week is not only a time to acknowledge the service and sacrifice of law enforcement professionals across our nation, it is also a time to remember those who gave everything in the line of duty. Tonight, we honor 3 members of our department whose names are forever woven into the fabric of our history. You already mentioned their names, but I'm going to go into a little more detail. Officer Peter Hugh Carroll, who died on October 31st, 1947, lost his life while responding to a call for service. Despite activated lights and sirens, the conditions that night led to a tragic collision with another patrol vehicle. Officer Carroll answered the call without hesitation, as so many officers do, and he paid the ultimate sacrifice. Officer Joseph Patrick Mitchell, who on December 1st, 1974, was killed while responding to a burglary alarm. Although he was off duty, Officer Mitchell stepped forward during a time of need when the rest of the city was already strained by civil unrest. His willingness to act, despite the risks, reflect the very essence of duty and commitment. Detective Charles Dwayne Swanson, who on November 21st, 1996, gave his life following the apprehension of a fleeing suspect. After a determined pursuit and a violent struggle, Detective Swanson successfully took the suspect into custody before he collapsed. His actions that day exemplify courage, resilience, and an unwavering dedication to protecting others. His son still works for us today. These three officers served in different eras, under different circumstances, but they shared the same calling: to serve and protect no matter the cost. Their sacrifices remind us that behind every badge is a person who chooses a life of service, a person who answered the call when others could not or would not. As we accept this proclamation, we do so not only with gratitude, but with a deep sense of responsibility to honor their legacy through our actions, to support those who continue to serve today, and to never forget the fallen. To the families of Officer Carroll, Officer Mitchell, and Detective Swanson, we remember them, we honor them, and we carry their legacy forward. Thank you.
All right, and our next proclamation is for Kinetic Month, and that will be read by Councilmember Moulton, also known as Queen Lotta Paint Buckets. I think I said it wrong, but that's okay. Welcome, everybody.
Oh, look at you. You're all looking so glorious this evening. Thank you. This was always one of my favorite parts about kinetics, getting serious people to read ridiculous things. City of Eureka proclamation in recognition of Kinetic Month, May 2026. Whereas the Kinetic Grand Championship, difficult to truly comprehend but easy to enjoy, is a Humboldt tradition originating in Ferndale and spreading like wildfire to other parts of the planet Earth. And whereas the kinetic sculpture race is older than some of you and younger than others, having started in Humboldt County in 1969, that's 57 years ago. Did I do that math? I didn't do the math.
You did it right.
Okay. Whereas our glorious founder, Hobart Brown, coined many a phrase, such as adults having fun, so children will want to grow older. And if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. And whereas it is in his glorious spirit that pilots race or drag their sculptures over land, sand, mud, and water for 50 miles, sometimes being unfortunately sabotaged by the winds or the ability to float. And whereas the Kinetic Grand Championship is known as the Triathlon of the art world, the birthplace of the Kinetic Museum, and inspiration for many great kinetic events such as the Rutabaga Ball and the Kinetic Classic Kid-Powered Art Race. And whereas the Kinetic Grand Championship encourages the use of junk and other items laying around in lawns, garages, and homes, and the tidying up of our environment. And whereas the Kinetic Grand Championship discovers local sleeping geniuses and gives hope to those who have none. And whereas it is ill-advised to ever take oneself too seriously. Now, therefore I, Rutabaga Queen Lotta Paint Buckets, on behalf of Mayor Kim Burgall and the Eureka City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2026 to be Kinetic Month, in recognition of the 57th year of kinetic sculpture racing, and encourage all spectators of varying heights and designs, but all equipped with a smile, to come on down to the Kinetic Grand Championship.
Ready to go for the glory on 3, 2, 1? For the glory!
I'm going to shake everybody's hand.
Good shaking.
Good to see you.
Hello.
Congratulations. Hi. Nice to meet you. Ow. Hi.
Thank you so much.
I want to say thank you so much for having us here today and acknowledging all of the amazing work that goes into the Kinetic Grand Championship. Are you whispering to me? No. I'm on TV. Cool. Just thank you for acknowledging all the amazing work that goes into this. It's been 57 years of glory, and as Hobart would say, that this really gave people something to look forward to every single year. In the darkest of times, we have something to look forward to, the Kinetic Sculpture Race. This celebration of whimsy, this celebration of ingenuity, of engineering, of art that is so unique to this place. It is so inspiring, and it is so affirming to be affirmed by you. Thank you so much. Thank you to the city of Eureka from the bottom of our hearts and for the glory, honey.
All right. And our next proclamation, we usually don't have this many, but it's wonderful to have so many, is for National Salvation Army Week. If you'd like to come forward. And I believe Councilmember Contreras-Deloche has this one. Welcome.
Thank you.
Whereas the Salvation Army has, for over 160 years, distinguished itself by providing service without discrimination to people in over 128 countries around the world, and whereas the Salvation Army has provided its services to Humboldt County from a central location in the city of Eureka since the early 1880s, with a permanent presence since 1888, and whereas the church has been operating at 2123 Tidd Street in Eureka since 1984, and whereas over 1,000 individuals each month are helped by our local Salvation Army with needs ranging from spiritual guidance and counseling to energy assistance, food and clothing assistance, and casework to help people achieve better, more stable lives. And whereas their youth programs support 24 or more children in weekly character building programs which teach history, citizenship, life skills, and integrity. And whereas they maintain active ministry groups for senior citizens, for women, for men, for home and care facility visitation, and for people in recovery. And whereas the Salvation Army maintains trained disaster response personnel and equipment to provide aid to our neighbors in need after fires, floods, earthquakes, and other disasters. Now, therefore, I, Renee Contreras-Deloche, on behalf of Mayor Kim Burgell and the City of Eureka City Council, hereby proclaim May 11th. You have May 11-15. Oh, I'm sorry. May 11th through 15th, 2026 as National Salvation Army Week, and commend the Salvation Army Eureka Corps and Community Center for providing continuing faithful service to our community.
Did you want to say a few words, or?
The captain's not here. I took her place and she didn't give me nothing.
Okay. Well, we're glad you're here. Thank you so much. Our final proclamation of this evening is the proclamation for Older Americans Month, and Councilmember Fernandez will be reading that, and we have someone to receive that proclamation.
It's me.
Come on.
It's
Oh,
actually.
I'm sorry.
I mean, it was here. I
Councilmember
can.
Castellano
Okay,
will be
great.
reading
I'll
that.
read it.
Oh, you traded. I forgot.
Okay. Hi, welcome. This is the proclamation in recognition of Older Americans Month as May 2026. Whereas this year's theme, Champion Your Health, encourages older adults to take an active role in their health and prevention, wellness, access to health care, informed decision-making, and personal responsibility are cornerstones of healthy aging. And whereas the Area 1 Agency on Aging brings more than $3 million in state and federal funding to Humboldt and Del Norte counties to support programs and services that promote prevention, wellness, and affordable access to quality health care. And whereas these services include, with the support of the City of Eureka, the Volunteer Driver Program, whose 26 volunteers have, since July 2025, dedicated over 1,107 hours to providing 994 rides to older, disabled, or low-income individuals averaging 77 years of age, over a total distance of 17,329 miles, equivalent to nearly 70% of the Earth's circumference, with over 40% of riders residing in the Eureka area. And whereas the City of Eureka also supports North Coast Home Share, which annually conducts direct mail campaigns to nearly 5,000 Eureka residents, leading to increased engagement and an average of 12 home sharing matches per year. Since February 2020, North Coast Home Share has facilitated 85 matches, with the average guest paying $100 to $850 per month. Of those matches, 50% are Eureka residents, with hosts averaging 72 years of age, the oldest being 100, guests averaging 60 years, the youngest being 31, and guests having an average annual income of $19,000. And whereas changes to federal and state funding that decrease access to quality, affordable health care jeopardize the health, safety, and independence of older adults and people with disabilities, putting them at greater risk of injury, hospitalization, isolation, institutionalization, and homelessness, impacting the ability to champion their health proactively. And now, therefore, I, Councilmember Castellano, on behalf of the Eureka City Council and Mayor Burgell, proclaim May 2026 to be Older Americans Month and call upon the community to honor and uplift older adults, advocate for their needs, and join in celebrating this year's Champion Your Health campaign.
Welcome. Thanks for being here. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Susan Cleverden. I'm the Social Services Manager for Area 1 Agency on Aging. I'd like to thank you. It's an honor to accept this proclamation on behalf of Area 1 Agency on Aging. Older Americans Month gives us a chance to acknowledge the contributions, wisdom, and experience of seniors, which unfortunately isn't really woven into the fabric of American culture. This year, the theme is Championing Your Health, which emphasizes taking an intentional role in managing one's own physical and mental well-being, as well as focusing on prevention and wellness. Being proactive about health is important at every phase in life, but can become more challenging as we age for a variety of reasons. Many people experience increased physical limitations, an accumulation of health issues, changes in memory and cognitive abilities, and suffer the adverse effects of social isolation, to name a few. So I'd like to share with you a few ways in which the Social Services Department helps support older adults champion their health through our programming. Many seniors want to be proactive about their health and wellness, but they're not sure where to turn. Our Information and Assistance Program helps direct seniors to resources that will support and enable them to manage their own health. Through our Home Share and Housing Coordination, which we'll be telling you more about a little later, we help place and keep seniors housed, which is a foundational social determinant of health. Seeking preventative medical care as well as treatment once issues arise is crucial in maintaining health. However, many older adults don't drive and are unable to use or access public transportation. Our volunteer driver program, which you'll also be hearing more about, provides rides to medical appointments. The volunteers who drive also provide rides to grocery shop, giving seniors access to healthy food. As many of you know, falls are a leading cause of injury and injury-related death among older adults. To help mitigate that risk, we go into seniors' home and conduct assessments of their living environment and lifestyle to identify factors that may contribute to falling and offer preventative suggestions and minor assistive devices. It's hard to escape the messaging that exercise and social interaction are key components to maintaining health, both becoming more challenging for many adults as they age. Through our Sail, Bingo Size, and Tai Chi exercise classes, seniors have the opportunity to exercise with other seniors not only keeping them healthy, but also reducing the risk of falls and increasing their social activity. Although it is ultimately the responsibility of the individual to champion their own health, we can work together as a community to make sure the aging population has the information they need and the access and assistance required to live out their golden years in the best possible way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just have a few announcements about things happening around the city. Saturday, May 9th, we're having our mental health town hall. There are flyers out front. It's from 10 to 1 at the Wharfinger with Rick Griffin from the Neuro Leadership Academy. And he's going to be talking about brain health. The topic is, wait, why did I do that? Turning brain science into real life resilience. And so if you're not doing anything, even if you are, stop by. We'd love to see you 10 to 1 at the Wharfinger. Quarters for Carson Park is happening May 15th at the Adorney Center. It's put on by the Kiwanis Club. It's at 5:45 to 8 p.m. A lot going on at Carson Park, so if you want to be a part of that, I've heard that's really fun. Old Town Vintage Market's happening Sunday, May 17th from 10 to 4 at G between 2nd and 3rd. Friday night markets begin May 22nd. And then we heard this evening the Rutabaga Ball will be happening May 16th, and the doors open at 6. Shows at Eureka Theater starts at 7. So these are all events that are coming up in our city before our next council meeting, and we'd love for you to come and hang out with community. That's what we do. So we're going to move on to presentations. Area 1 on aging presentation. So Susan and Julie, come on up.
I guess we're telling you more about these programs sooner than later. Oh, yeah, thank you. So I just press the middle button? Oh, the arrow. Yeah, okay, great. All right, well, we're here to give you the annual update on what's been happening in our volunteer driver program and our North Coast Home Share program. Just to give you a brief overview, the Volunteer Driver Program is a program that provides rides for older adults to medical appointments and to grocery shop. And so all of this data is starting at the beginning of our fiscal year, which is July through the end of April. And so we have 875 active clients that we can serve. Certainly not all of them are reaching out at once for rides, but they're active clients. And as you can see, more than half of them have disabilities. Many of them use canes, walkers, some of them are low vision, and that can make it really challenging for them to access public transportation. So the rides are really important. And also, a good percentage of them are low income, so paying for transportation isn't really an option. And you can see the average client age is 76, and almost half of our clients live right here in Eureka. You basically just heard the volunteer data and the proclamation, so I won't repeat it, but I do get a kick out of the almost 3/4 of the way around the earth. I can visualize that. But I would like to just pause for a moment and say how important our volunteers are. It's only volunteers who are giving rides. If we didn't have volunteers, we wouldn't have this program at all. And just a little plug, it's real easy to volunteer for this program. You can give as few or as many rides as you want. And we do offer mileage reimbursement. So we encourage people to come check it out if you'd like to give back to your community and drive older adults around. So this is a client testimonial. We received a thank you card this year with a little bit of money in it as a token of their appreciation. A 94-year-old couple have been using our program. They don't have anybody else to help give them rides, so they were very appreciative. We like to highlight a volunteer. This year we're highlighting Gail Earl-Rich, and I chose her because each month the volunteers who want mileage reimbursement, which by the way, not all of them do, a lot of this are doing this completely for free, but I saw that she was driving kind of more than anybody else. So I thought, well, let's highlight her. And I was blown away when I started looking at her statistics. The number of, so she just had her 3-year anniversary on May 1st. She gave her very first ride May 1st in 2023. And in that time, she has driven almost 73% around the world, which is as much as all of the drivers cumulative this year have driven. She's done this in just 3 years. She lives in Fortuna, which is really great because when you live in Eureka and you're providing rides to people who live in Fortuna, it's just an excessive amount of driving. So she's been really helpful in being able to transport a lot of the Eel River residents. I thought it was really heartwarming when she talked about how her very first rider, his health began to decline. And on the very last ride she gave him, he was scared of going into the VA. And so she went in with him. And the last thing that I want to just mention is several clients have told her that it would cost $50 one way to Uber to Eureka. So I was curious. So I got on my Uber app and I pretended I wanted to get a ride from Fortuna to Eureka. And sure enough, it's $47. So what the volunteers are doing for the older adults who can't drive is an incredible service. And on that note, I'll pass it off to Julie Andre.
Hi, good evening. And I'm going to jump right in because I know we have a limited amount of time. So our program has been around since February 2020. It's been just over 6 years. And in that amount of time, we've facilitated 87 matches. Over the since I last saw you last year, we've facilitated 16 matches, and we're currently, we have 13 that are ongoing. So all of those numbers, they're the match activity. Those are the people who come together and who decide that they are going to live with each other. In the 87, I'm counting also those people who get together for a trial and might not go forward with a home share arrangement, a home share agreement. We have a longest match that just celebrated 5 years together. On average, it's 15 months, but it doesn't really mean much because there's a lot of matches that are much longer than that, and there's some that are much shorter than that. So when it comes to match data, which is something I didn't mention last year, and I can't remember if it was a question, but I get the question, what is your success rate? So the success rate is about 3/4 of the match that we facilitate actually move into an agreement, an arrangement. So they're going to stick together and they figure out we're compatible and we're going to start living together. And out of those 75% of the matches that we're facilitating, 75% will go 6 months or more. So that's the 1 year, 18 months, and then the 5-year ones. And that's very much in line with other home share programs across the nation, which we check in with on a regular basis. So we're very fortunate to have this service to our community. It is pretty exceptional for such a small community to have this kind of free service for all older community members, granted, but also anybody who's looking for affordable housing. On average, our hosts, our home providers, the people who open up their homes for people to come and live with them, they're going to be older than the housemates. Most of our participants are going to be female. And we've had a client who was 100 years old, as you heard, and our youngest client has been 31. Most of our participants are Eureka residents. So we keep data. I have to report to Susan, who's my boss. We look at the data per quarter. So every 3 months, we look at how many applications have been submitted to the program. So it's a fairly short application, 6 pages. But over the past 6 months, we've had 23 applications submitted to the program over a quarter. So that's about 7 to 8 a month. That's a lot when you think about those are the people who are looking for affordable housing. On the flip side, when it comes to home providers, since July of last year, we've had 4 to 8 home share applications from people who are ready to open up their homes to a housemate, which is also a lot because it takes a lot for someone to come to the agreement that, oh yeah, I need someone to come and live with me and I'm going to apply to this program. I wanted to also share this program data because I realized that the 87 matches over the course of 6 years might not feel like a lot, might not seem like a lot, but over the course of a year, 12 months, we get 430 inquiries. So that's what we just got over the past 12 months. So that's a lot of inquiries. I work 5 days a week and then I get vacation time and stuff like that in the meantime. So that's a lot of inquiries that our program has to deal with. And this is pretty much a one-woman show except with a volunteer in the mix. We also serve 270 unduplicated clients. That's since July 2025. So those are maybe single inquiries and then all the other people that we help on a regular basis trying to find them a housemate or trying to find them housing. Real quick, also a client story. I really like this story from a Eureka home provider who had been sharing his home, and he had been organically sharing his home with people that he connected with over Craigslist. He came to us because he felt like he was kind of like a boarding home, like there was no connection with his housemates. He came to us and he said, I do have those expenses. I've replaced my furnace with solar, or, whatever. So he had some expenses that he needed to cover, and a housemate was going to help with that. But he also wanted his home to feel like a home. And as a mid-60s home provider who never had children, he accepted, and that's exceptional for our programs. That's the only time that's happened. He took in a single dad in his late 40s with a toddler. And if you have ever been around a toddler, you know that it's completely different from starting to share with a grown adult. And it's been over a year now, and I typically will stop after 6 months of people being together because that's our benchmark for success. But I keep a relationship with people, and I just recently checked in with him, and he wrote me a really nice email where he's saying all those nice things and that it's a very comfortable living situation for him, no oddness, nothing alienating. And he's just loving it. So that's a picture of them both. Dan is on. He's the older home provider in there. And it's a very sweet situation. Some other client testimonials. I had shared those two men. They've been together for 2 years now, over 2 years. And I really like what Rob had said, that without this service, which is a free service to our community, it would have been very difficult to find this type of arrangement. Again, this is an exceptional service for such a small community. And just recently, in April of 2026, this is something that our program also does that is not a typical home share arrangement, but it's the housing coordination piece. I was able to connect Didi outside of the program with a home provider who had a lot more experience down in Fortuna, who had been connecting with housemates kind of on his own. He reached out to me, said, I'm kind of done trying to connect with people through Furnished Finder, which is like for shorter stays. I would like someone that I can have a relationship with. Who do you have? And I wasn't really involved in the matching process. It was more of a referral to each other. And apparently things are going really well. So thank you so much to the City of Eureka for supporting us in this work. Most rent is around $650. It's going to be very hard for any of our housemates to pay more than $700 all included. That means utilities included, because as you can see, the income for housemates is about $19,000 on average, but more realistically, it's going to be about $14,000 a year, which is Social Security income, which is $1,100 a month. I don't even understand how people can pay for housing and $650, but they make it work and they prioritize housing. And finally, thank you to the City of Eureka for helping us also continuing our outreach efforts. We do 2 to 3 informational sessions at the Eureka Library, and we usually get a pretty good attendance. About 15 to 20 people come out and sit through the meet and greet. And we keep going with the outreach because it's proven that it's the repeated messaging that will help people come to a program like ours and open up their homes to a potential housemate, and thus creating more housing, which we so desperately need here in California and Eureka. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Councilmember Contreras-Deloche? Comments, fine?
Well, first, thank you for the presentation. But I would also, just as you were talking about it, I had a couple of questions, but then you were so thorough that they got answered. So I really appreciate that. This is so impressive. You know, as you were talking about it, I thought, oh, this is such a good way to be helping address, you know, housing insecurity here. But as you were sharing these different testimonials, I thought you're doing way more than that. You're helping people find companions in kind of family situations, which is really something. I know loneliness is like a big issue for people too as they age. And so I'm really touched by what you're doing. This is such an important thing. And I didn't realize kind of the full extent of it. And 87 is really impressive, and a 75% success rate is really impressive. And even if it is shorter, that's really buying them time to kind of find other situations, which is so critical, because that's just such a difficult gap to bridge. So it was just a comment and a thank you. Like, this is really great. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for
Councilmember
understanding it so fully. Yes, I appreciate it.
Councilmember Fernandez?
Thank you. The success rate question was probably me, because it sounds like me.
Oh, yes.
And I'm grateful that you were able to come back a year later and present that, because again, like Councilmember Contreras-Deloche pointed out, it's excellent. It's excellent to see how the program's functioning. You know, I'm curious. I'm aware, but what is the current mileage reimbursement rate?
It is 72.5 cents per mile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how is that funded, and how do you pay that out?
So, well, it's partially funded by the city of Eureka, and I didn't give my proper thank you in my little spiel, so thank you very much. And also a little bit from some federal funding, and then we've been getting a grant from Department of Transportation, and that really helps with that. So
No, that's you know, I'm glad you're grateful. That wasn't meant to highlight anything other than the fact
when I heard her
that-
saying thank you, I'm like, did I even say thank you? I got to sit back up to the mic and say thank you, so I was going to do it anyways.
And so that reimbursement for the volunteers, how is that paid out?
I'm not sure. What do you mean?
Is it a check? Is it a direct
Oh,
deposit?
a check.
That's what I'm trying. Yeah. Thank
check.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, one of the things I saw up there was that, you know, the average age for the volunteers, 70 years old.
Yeah.
And I know I had asked you, Madam Mayor, I was just like, you know, astonished at that. And you're like, well, yeah, those folks are likely retired and able to participate more.
They're all retired. All of our drivers
So
are.
yeah, there we go.
But so we have, what is it, 25 or 26 volunteers right now. And I want to say like only 8 to 10 of them are regularly asking for reimbursement. Now, I have not dug into the data to see these other ones, like how many miles are they driving a month. But I mean, at this point, anything with the price of gas is pretty huge. So that to me is quite the dedication.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything further?
I did want to say that Dan, who's featured as one of the client story, he said, just make sure that you say thank you to my council member, Leslie Castellano, for the great work that she's doing.
Aw, sweet.
Specifically when I said that I was coming tonight and presenting his story to the group. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being here. That was an interesting and wonderful presentation. Appreciate you guys and all the work you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And I was remiss when I was talking about the town hall. I forgot to mention that there will be a translator. There will be Spanish translation there. So if you speak Spanish, please come. There'll be translation. Moving back to presentations now. Unlocking affordable housing on faith-based land in Eureka with Kristen Kenyon. et al.
Good evening, Council, Mayor and Council. We had the great opportunity to participate as a client again for Professor Lori Richmond's undergraduate senior capstone class for planning and policy. And this time we picked exploring the idea of housing on faith-based properties. And what inspired that was this recent state law, SB4, that the students are going to talk about. And also our current housing element has a policy encourage churches to build residential units on unused or underutilized church property. And so I gave the students a lot of options for how to explore this: policy analysis, case studies, interviews, outreach materials, GIS spatial analysis, and I thought they would choose one or two of those, but they did all of it. And the quantity and quality of work is really outstanding. And if you haven't had a chance to read their written report, I highly recommend it. It was linked to the agenda. And so with that, I'm going to pass it off to the students and they'll introduce themselves.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Hello all, hello council.
You need to speak into the thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh, it lowers. Okay. Good evening. My name is Kate Pringle, and I am joined by my classmates from Cal Poly Humboldt.
My name is Lillian Zwarzina.
I'm Trevor Liebel.
I'm Adalia Garcia.
And I'm Bree Kais.
We are proud to present our 2026 Senior Capstone, a feasibility study on unlocking housing on faith-based land in Eureka. Our goal tonight is to provide a data-backed roadmap for leveraging underutilized local land to solve our regional housing crisis. During this presentation, we will cover our project's purpose, policy and case study research, GIS and interview analysis, and lastly, our recommendations to the city. The three main purposes were understanding the Affordable Housing on Faith and Higher Education Lands Act, also known as Senate Bill 4, or as we call it, SB 4, and its potential to fast-track development projects, identify barriers and opportunities from faith-based landowners, and utilize GIS analysis to identify potential sites for development. To put this in perspective, the California Department of Housing and Community Development requires jurisdictions to update their housing element every 8 years. Eureka must plan for 1,740 new net units by 2035 to be compliant with the latest housing element cycle. The risk of noncompliance is the loss of state funding and other legal consequences. There are several obstacles to identifying new sites, which involve a few remaining vacant and unconstrained parcels, available parcels that do not satisfy HCD size requirements, and those that are located in geographically compromised regions.
SB4 has great potential to fast-track affordable housing projects in Eureka. The purpose of it is to do exactly as I just said. I'll reiterate it again. Fast track those processes to develop affordable housing. I guess you could kind of describe it as a feeding two birds with one stone situation, as it both touches upon the California's housing crisis and also rising vacancies of religious institutions. There is three main components that I'd like to highlight about this law. Number one is that it allows eligible parcels to be permitted to construct or to develop, even if their zoning does not currently qualify, and thus it removes the process of rezoning, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, is both timely and costly. Similarly, qualifying projects, or I guess otherwise qualifying projects, are allowed to bypass many different discretionary reviews in addition to environmental reviews like CEQA. For those unfamiliar, the California Environmental Quality Act is once again a very necessary but potentially lengthy and expensive process. And then finally, the SB4 requires that the property has been owned by the qualifying religious institution on or before January 1st of 2024, which opens up a lot of years. But more so than this, we discovered that that religious institutions, they don't have to fully transfer land, and they can lease it to others, which really opens up the potential for partners. So in addition to understanding the statute itself, we tried to pull some real life examples. And so there's 4 case studies listed up here. I'll address 2 of them. The first one is the Bethel One Housing Project in San Diego. It was started by a group called YIGBY, Yes in God's Backyard, which is, they're one of the front runners for developing affordable housing on religious institutions. In fact, they were the first ones to do so. And I'll touch upon the second case study after, but there were some findings that we deemed important, namely that most all of these projects were primarily privately funded, but also that there is actually a wide array of organizations that specify, or there are a plentiful amount of organizations with the intention of helping facilitate these partnerships between religious institutions and developers. And as I was kind of hinting at before with the leasing, it's not just cut and dry in terms of how you can partner. And so I guess that'll lead us to the Binion Senior Cottages Project in Fresno, California. It is one of the first housing development projects that actually has utilized SB4, and they just currently broke ground, so it's happening right now. And the total plan is to develop 21 units on a 1 village acre. And it's super exciting to see that phase 1 is planned to be finished by the end of this year. And I think that'll wrap up our policy section.
All right, so in addition to the policy and the case study analysis, we also did some mapping and GIS analysis. There was no existing database that had all of the religious organizations in the city of Eureka all compiled together, so we sought to create that. In total, there are 24 religious organizations that own land in Eureka, making up 26 acres of total land. In our analysis, we also digitized and mapped out where structures are currently present on the land and considered all other land to be underutilized. So of those 26 acres, 18.4 of them are underutilized according to our analysis. As mentioned before, the Department of Housing and Community Development recommends that parcels over 0.5 acres to be suitable for affordable housing development. Of the 24 religious organizations, 11 of them have over half an acre of underutilized lands. In addition to compiling the database, on the right you can see a map of all the religious organizations in Eureka. The color on the map represents their California Tax Credit Allocation Committee tax opportunity classification, quite a long name. But basically this is a scoring criteria based on the services located around the area that is very important in the scoring criteria for affordable housing tax credits. So HCD likes to see affordable housing being put into areas that have high resources, and there are 2 sites that have high resources in Eureka, both located in the southeast portion of Eureka, 7 sites that have moderate resources, and 14 that have low resources. So this is the largest religious organization in Eureka. This is the Faith Center Foursquare Church. As you can see, they have a large parking lot, but also a large area that borders the slough. We reached out to Faith Center Foursquare Church in request of an interview, but they did not believe it would be feasible for their land, and they declined an interview with us. In addition, one of the other largest religiously owned parcels in Eureka is the United Congregational Christian Church of Eureka, which has 3.3 underutilized acres. This site has some challenges and some opportunity. As you may notice, a large portion of the site is currently covered in trees that border a creek. This would introduce extra environmental review that SB4 does not provide streamlining for, and might also introduce community opposition if the church members don't want to see their trees cut down. However, these two southern buildings are currently listed on Google Maps as being used as a child care center. In SB4, it explicitly allows for the ground floor of an affordable housing development to have ancillary uses. So in the zoning, it allows for child care centers to be that ancillary use. So there is potential on this site if the landowner wanted to work with an affordable housing developer to possibly get a new state-of-the-art child care facility constructed on the first floor and build housing on top. In addition to specific site feasibility, we also wanted to look at other more unique opportunities where affordable housing could be possible. This is a few blocks near F and Sonoma Street here in Eureka, and within these 4 blocks, there are 3 different religious organizations: Eureka First Baptist, First United Methodist, and Eureka Church of the Nazarene. None of these sites indicated that it would be feasible to develop affordable housing on their sites, but many of the religious organizations that we interviewed indicated that they would be interested in collaborating with other religious institutions. So there is possibility for that to occur here. First off, all 3 of these religious organizations maintain ownership of houses that are being used as rectories for the pastor or being leased out to community members, currently just under the church itself. SB4 in its statutes allows for 5% of an affordable housing development to be utilized for staff of the religious organization. So there is a possibility that if these churches were to work together, they could build an affordable housing development and share the use of it through these rectories or through administrative purposes. And they don't necessarily need to share the actual worship hall. In addition, on the south end of the parcels, there is a large block that is currently only being utilized as a parking lot. In our report, we discussed that if these churches were to collaborate, they could alternate the timings of service or the days of service in order to share parking facilities and open up some more land for developing affordable housing. And finally, over on the right, we have the Apostolic Faith Mission Church. It's not amongst the largest of the properties that we identified in our analysis, but what is interesting is that the property is currently abandoned and is not being utilized as a church. The landowner had indicated that they're interested in developing a mixed-use housing and medical facility there, but the city is currently waiting on applications for a building permit, and the project is currently not in progress as far as we could tell. SB4 could be utilized on this property because it was owned by a religious organization before January 1st, 2024, and this site could be redeveloped utilizing affordable housing and the affordable housing tax credits to improve the financial ability or the financial feasibility of developing affordable housing on the site. Perfect.
Okay, shifting on to interview results. We interviewed 7 representatives from 5 different religious institutions and churches. And some of the common barriers that we heard about from our interviews were, first and foremost, limited space availability and the capacity for development. And then when asked if they were to have space for development, other potential barriers that could come about were, first, the financial constraints, second, the risk of neighborhood or congregational opposition, meaning that friendly relations with neighbors and within the congregation want to be maintained, so the proposal of a housing could stir up divisions or conflict that wouldn't be in the best interest of the religious institution. Also, risk of legal issues is a big one. If a religious institution decides to manage rentals instead of leasing the land to a developer, then dealing with tenant lawsuits or the responsibilities as landlords could end up burdening the institution. There's also the social stigma around affordable housing that is still present and still presents a barrier. And then key observations we like to highlight from our interviews that we took away were that, one, there was a genuine receptiveness and interest in learning about SB4 and about relevant case studies from our interviewees. Second, that the religious institutions we interviewed are expanding or have expanded their property and facilities to serve multiple purposes, so they may already have their hands full. And for the most part, from the interviews we got and also from emails that we got back declining an interview, it is apparent that parking is considered important to active religious institutions. And also, we learned that church ownership models may vary. While some make decisions independently, others make decisions within a hierarchical system. Fourth, rezoning constraint for housing developers. We interviewed some affordable housing developer representatives, and they brought up they don't consider sites for affordable housing that would need to be rezoned for the affordable housing. But SB4, however, would open up eligibility for sites by removing that barrier to rezone if it meets all the requirements. And lastly, community serving focused and impact. So we learned that many of the religious institutions we interviewed already have a mission that's kind of aligned with serving the community or helping the community. So although some may not be able to hold affordable housing on their land, through conversations, it brought up that they were interested, some were interested in seeking opportunities to still contribute to the mission to build affordable housing in Eureka. And I'm passing it on to my next.
So based off of our findings and analysis, we came up with a few recommendations for the city to potentially move this project along further. The first would be to continue outreach to faith-based institutions. So all of the churches we interviewed were actually unaware of SB4. So just increasing that awareness around the potential for them to develop on their sites. Our group actually made an informational pamphlet, I believe was passed out to everybody regarding SB4 and developing on church properties to further aid with the outreach process. The next recommendation would be to support the collaboration of churches. It was noted earlier that a project like this was not feasible for any of the churches we interviewed. However, they did note that they would be willing to contribute financially or in other aspects if it was feasible for another church to develop on their site. The next recommendation would be to connect with potential partners. Throughout the interview process, we found out about a group called the Humboldt Interfaith Fellowship. This is a gathering group of faith leaders within Humboldt. We meet once monthly to spread information amongst each other, and from there, that information is then dispersed to a wider, broader range of church communities, which just offers another potential venue for the outreach process. The next recommendation would be a city-hosted event, particularly focused around SB4, which would just create a space for churches to ask questions and learn and maybe even seek some technical guidance with this process. And the last recommendation would be to shift the language from affordable housing to workforce housing. As Medallia noted earlier, affordable housing often reflects a negative stigma within the community. But when we use workforce housing, it's better reflecting the individuals qualifying for these programs. So that'll be like our entry-level healthcare positions, teachers, and other service workers. And that concludes our presentation. We want to thank everyone for listening.
Thank you so much. Does council have any questions? Councilmember Moulton?
First of all, thank you so much for the presentation. It's clear the thoughtful and deep and thorough work that went into this. And I love that this class, these projects are providing a genuine benefit to the city and genuine outreach efforts and great perspectives. So really digging into stuff is challenging. So having a group that's just like dedicated to do that incredibly useful. Thank you. I have some nuts and bolts questions. On some of the properties, there was a map where they were picked out as being high resource, mid resource, or low resource. And I noticed that the two that were high resource are kind of out there. So I'm curious if you can give, what do they mean by resource? What does that mean? Is it close to hospitals, close to grocery, close to public transportation?
Yeah, so the CTCAC has a lot of criteria, and I believe that most of them are just generally referred to social services, how closely you said you are to grocery stores, the amount of transit that's in the area, as well as I believe healthcare. And I think they also include certain like social health or public health outcomes as well in that analysis, but I'm not positive.
Okay, that's interesting. Actually, that's all I had. Thank you.
Councilmember Fernandez?
Councilmember Moulton, I think the few that you may have been referring to were down in like the southeastern corner of the map, that quadrant.
They're out towards Cutton.
My district.
Okay.
And so, you're thinking
see,
maybe
the resource
Henderson
is you.
Center. Yeah, it's
Okay.
absolutely just me. Just come to Mario's house. But But yeah, you have Henderson Center there. You've also got behavioral health just over off of, what is that, H? So there's more resources there than there would be if you were getting out towards the zoo area, is what I'm thinking. Is that...
It's high median income,
Yeah, I was gonna say income as
pollution,
well.
and I think health outcomes.
And educational outcomes.
Education, yeah, that's the other one.
So some of the questions I had was, going back to workforce housing, you were saying that there's a social stigma around affordable housing. And so we're aware, but what was it that you were hearing in these interviews, if anything, around that and that definition of affordable housing?
Yeah, we were just hearing maybe they're maybe a little afraid of maybe what types of people come to mind when they're hearing affordable housing, right? Mm-hmm. So I think when we transition to workforce housing, especially in the interviews, it put it more into perspective that it is our workforce and it is our teachers or maybe even students qualifying for affordable housing.
And one of the things I noticed on the pamphlet, and please tell me if I'm wrong in my assessment, but what is it? Open it up. Third panel, Humboldt County area median income $93,900 a year. That sounds high. That's why. And if
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Yeah, in the third panel, it says Humboldt County area median income $93,900.
The chart was found. It was given to.
I can clarify. It's the state sets the median income at that level, and that's what they use to establish affordability levels.
Right. And I think like Councilmember Moulton just pointed out to me, that's the median income for a family of four. That's where I was getting lost. I was thinking median income for an individual. I was like, hold on here.
Yes, it's still higher than it should be.
Right.
Because they use the like average of the rural or something. Yeah, it's actually 60,000, but
right, and that's what I was hoping to get clarification on. So I appreciate that, and thank you, Councilmember Moulton, and thank you, Director Kenyon, for that. Let's see, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here too. Yeah, a lot of the ones that you had highlighted are actually in my district, and those are ones that I drive by regularly, and so I've been curious about the interaction, and I'm really grateful for the effort and the work that you've put into this project. And one of the solutions, or at least one of the tactics that you had highlighted, was having some sort of workshop or putting something together for community outreach. And I know Councilmember Contreras-Deloche and I are on the emergency shelter guidelines ad hoc that we've put together. And I know later this month we're meeting with a few community groups, and to put it out there, because this is where we have to have the discussion. If anyone from your work group, or if Director Kenyon, you might be available then to meet with us in some of those community groups. We're looking at, what did I say, the 29th? I'd have to go back and look in my email, but I'm not fabricating that date. It's somewhere at the end of the month. And this is your senior project. Are you even going to be around at that point? I'd hope you are, but yeah.
I will.
But yes, that is an invitation then to make this work more tangible if you all are open to it. And we can follow up after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Castellano.
Yeah, firstly, thank you for your report and all of your work. I think it's such a valuable presentation that you gave and a real asset for our work around, just creating more opportunity for housing in the city. And you got to interview my next door neighbor church, Pastor Nate, who's, I think, a pretty great guy. And I was curious, when you're talking about church collaboration, because I'm a big fan of, like spaces being used, right? And often churches are used, once or twice a week and they're emptied. Were any churches possibly interested in, maybe like collaborating on service times and then even possibly like selling or land banking their church entirely so that it could be used for housing? And, did any of that kind of thinking come up, that like churches could just collaborate and sort of consolidate into one church and then have maybe like just open up churches for, entire use for housing?
Before I pass it off to another one of my team members, something that we noted from interviews was that different pastors work at different churches. So I think that is something to also take into consideration, is that could be a possibility of making the service hours, the times work for that as well.
Additionally, I believe that there was a large kind of neighborhood connection for a lot of these churches. When we interviewed these religious leaders, a lot of their congregation have been going to this same church for a very long time, and it's a part of their routines. And I imagine that we would be more successful on the kind of collaboration around scheduling and timing, but it would probably be a lot more challenging to get these churches to agree to do a full land transfer in that regard, unless it came with some pretty serious benefits for the church itself, for the congregation. I feel like one of the things we noticed is the neighborhood presence, and that kind of really hyperlocal community was really important for the congregation and for the leaders.
I did just also want to add, Medalia, please remind me the name of the first church that we went to.
Eureka First Baptist.
Okay. When we were at Eureka First Baptist, the pastor there did mention that he was doing everything in his power just to bring people into his space, and they have a cafe, and they do rent out one of their recreation rooms to people to have events. So I would say in terms of finding means to bring people into their space, that's 100% something that people are interested in. But yeah, I can't speak for necessarily if they would be open to kind of collaboration to that extent.
Yeah. To add that onto that, when we interviewed them, we didn't have all the details until we finished writing our report. So if we had it, then we would have presented it, but we weren't able to at the time we interviewed, so we don't know.
It's a bit of a speculative question, so I was just curious because you did get a chance to talk to so many pastors just from that perspective, if that may be, I could imagine it being a hard ask or sell to say like, hey, collaborate on, but the super church, it could be the super church, we don't know. Thank you.
Councilmember Moulton?
I did think of one other question. We were talking about the idea of property ownership. I know that churches, when they conduct religious ceremonies, religious rites once a week, and their property is 100% used for religious purposes, that they get a church tax exemption on property tax, and that there's a different, slightly more complicated exemption for welfare purposes. Did this come up in your conversation? Does SB4 address property tax exemptions that churches might have to change or lose potentially if part of the property becomes housing instead of used for religious or welfare purposes?
So from our understanding of that, if they were to take a portion of their land and designate it for non-religious purposes, that would not be able to fall under that religious exemption for tax purposes. However, that might be able to be, the increased tax that may come could be counteracted by a leasing program where the leasing income from an affordable housing developer and manager could cover the increase in property taxes and then some. Would probably be in the religious organization's best interests.
Okay, so they might lose the exemption, but the math might work out for them in the long run.
And I think they would only lose the exemption for the portion that isn't currently being used for religious purposes.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Councilmember Contreras Deloach?
Yeah, I noticed. So it looks like you got to speak with 4 churches and then Betty Chen, right? Was that because you just had such a constrained amount of time, or it took a while for people to like reach back out?
Yes, there was definitely difficulties getting in contacts with the churches and to schedule interviews. Betty Chin was actually another lead that one of the other churches gave us to reach out to her as well. So we followed a few leads from different churches, like the Humboldt Interfaith Fellowship group as well, that came from a different church.
Yeah, did you get to speak with any of them, or that was just something you heard about kind of toward the end?
I did get to speak with them, and we're in the process of possibly having Kristen attend their meeting this month.
Yeah, I wish that I had known that you guys were doing this, because I have this list. And I had contacts for everybody, because this is what I've been working on for over a year. So I wish that I could have contributed and helped. And I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of this until it landed on our agenda this last week. But I really appreciate this report. I really appreciate this. I think this is fantastic. And we're not at comment point yet, so I'll wait. But that was my question.
We are
Thank
at
you.
comment. This is just a presentation.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Go ahead.
Huh?
You're fine. Go ahead.
And that meeting is on Friday, May 29th at 8 a.m. So if you aren't, enjoying, are you guys out of school at that point?
Is it virtually as well, or?
Yeah, we could probably do it virtually as well, if you'd like to attend. So I think that would be cool. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Anything further? Thank you so much for being here and all your great work. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Kristen.
Virtue signal. All right, this brings us to the public comment period. Pardon me. This is the time for members of the public who wish to be heard on matters that do not appear on the agenda. City Council policy is to limit each speaker to 3 minutes. Such time allotment or portion thereof shall not be transferred to other speakers. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the City Council may not take any action on an item that does not appear on the agenda. Welcome, you're right there.
Oh, thank you. Great to see everybody here in this beautiful May evening.
Excuse me, could we keep the comments in the back down, please? It's distracting. Thank you.
I'm here to try to put forth a sunshine ordinance group that would basically follow up on the Brown Act and give it some teeth and follow up where the city attorney and you folks here fall short. So the reason for that is that there are glaring examples in California of where the government has gone off the rails and gone into very woke and anti-citizen legislation and ordinances. And we want to know how much of your budget is going to citizens, how much is going to non-citizens, and which nonprofits, which profits, and all that stuff needs to be readily available. And so people can walk in here and talk to you people instead of just listening to presentations and virtue signaling and going back and forth, when we know that public housing in church domains is not going to work. Simply, you go to a place of worship to get above humanity. And there are a lot of better places to put public housing in Eureka than in places of worship. But listening to it for more than a half hour and you guys going back and forth virtue signaling kind of sets the tone for what's going on here. So we want a sunshine ordinance to go through your minutes, go through your records, go through your financials, and bring the light of government to the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers who would like to comment on an item not on the agenda? Seeing no one, do you see anyone on Zoom?
I see no one on Zoom.
No one on Zoom. Okay. This brings us to council reports, and we will start with Councilmember Castellano.
Thank you.
Sorry, hang on just a second. Okay, there you go. Sorry about that.
No problem. All right. Let's see. I did some traveling, not specifically for council, but it was related to some advocacy for our region, attending the California Art and Culture Summit in Sacramento. And then I stayed on to attend the California Jobs First Symposium of Practice for Sustainable Recreation and Tourism. And there I was really advocating for kind of better and cohesive planning for tourism development efforts around trails, tourism in rural areas, and also incorporating art and culture elements. I attended a series of planning meetings presented by the Humboldt Transit Authority and HCOG that were around bus transit planning, and kind of looking at, when you have limited funds, how do you make choices around frequency of ridership or kind of total numbers of rides? Like sort of like, are you concentrating rides in areas with the densest population, or are you kind of trying to reach the greatest kind of land area or mass, and kind of just like how to kind of balance out those different needs and priorities? Some people here in chambers were there. I also attended a Eureka Main Street Economic Vitality meeting. And let's see, I am doing, and unfortunately I'll miss the town hall on Saturday because I'll be at the Eureka Main Street Spring Festival there in Old Town, and I'm going to be painting 7 dumpsters in Opera Alley that day from 11 to 4 p.m. With flower stencils, just a way of how can, in sort of like one short pop-up session, we can create a little bit of beauty there in Opera Alley just off Clark Plaza. So if you have flower stencils and you want to come out and join me in doing some painting, I'll have some paint. I also have a lot of stencils I'm bringing, but come on down. That's what I've been up to.
So, Councilmember Castellano, I didn't report out on that. So the Eureka Main Street is, do you know the time of that for the public?
11 to 4.
Okay,
on
and it's
Saturday.
all through Old Town, or just?
It's through the Eureka Main Street district, which, it's a little bit, it's Old Town and downtown. And it's, a lot of businesses are going to be open, sidewalk sale, there's bands and live music, and it should be really fun. Some kind of special activities in different shops and local businesses.
Thanks so much for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Councilmember Moulton?
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see, I have no travel to report. Since the last meeting, I went to Arts Live, which is getting very lively as the days get longer. It's pretty packed out there. Attended the Eureka City Schools 2x2, our collaborative committee between the city and Eureka City Schools. I wanted to share a kudos. Superintendent Stortz praised the EPD for their general professionalism and kindness when dealing with students in the schools and around the schools, not just the school resource officer, but in general when they've had interactions with EPD. He says they are above and beyond. So I wanted to share that with the chief and with the public. We discussed the different areas where housing is being developed in the city in order to prepare the schools for potential increases in school enrollment. We discussed the Bay to Zoo Trail and related improvements to the security of the Zane Middle School campus. So it's going to go behind there. And on a side note, the Humboldt Bay Fire recently got funding for a side-by-side to help them and EPD respond to emergencies on the trail. So I let them know that was happening. I attended the Humboldt Bay Fire meeting. Lots of nuts and bolts stuff on that one. But I wanted to say congratulations to Captain Ben Miller on his promotion to battalion chief. Captain Miller has dedicated 21 years to Humboldt Bay Fire, serving in the ranks of firefighter, engineer, and captain. Throughout his career, he has served as the B Platoon training captain, working as an acting battalion chief, and as a member of the HBF Urban Search and Rescue Team. I'd love to see that advancement from within. Looking forward, this coming Friday, May the 8th, not city business, but the Humboldt Literacy Project, which does a really great job teaching adults how to read in our community, is having their big fundraiser, their trivia challenge. And then on Saturday, there's an interesting event from the Humboldt Transparency, what's the name of it? Humboldt Transparency Coalition, thank you, which is great. It's all about transparency in politics and government, and they're having an event at the Eureka Theater on Saturday, and that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Councilmember Fernandez?
Yeah, a night of revelry and deception for Blood on the Clock Tower, I think it's called. Yeah, I'm participating in that, which is why I won't be able to attend the town hall, because I did not know yours was being scheduled at the same time as that was going on.
It's a different event.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, good. Then I may be able to do both. So no travel myself, and I missed our 2x2 with Eureka City Schools as I had to provide family care, and had to miss our emergency shelter ad hoc because of a scheduled work conflict, though myself and council member Contreras-Delos will be meeting later this month with, again, a few of the community groups, and hopefully help better understand the resources that are available for the unhoused and discuss how to better collaborate with one another. And, hopefully that's something we can put together with the student presentation that we just saw earlier. I attended the Redwood Region Economic Development Commission. We've recently updated our bylaws, which are always fun. And then this month, the education piece was centered around outdoor recreation and tourism. So takeaways from that: in California, it's surprisingly 2.2% of our state GDP. And here regionally, the Redwood National and State Parks brings in approximately, helps with approximately 465 jobs within our county, and then brings in about 47.8 million worth of visitor spending. So those were some nice highlights. Some things we're doing well, at least based on the report and the presentation in context of outdoor recreation. Environmentally, sustainability, climate policy, we're doing fantastic. Safety and security, safety levels and policy prioritization, we're doing very well in terms of safety and urban readiness. Some things that were put on there for improvement were scale, just in terms of our capacity, and tourism policy by itself. And with that, there is an outdoor economy summit being hosted here in Eureka the first week of June. I've passed that on to staff, and hopefully we'll have some members of our staff participating in that. And then in terms of community, participated in the Beltane event put on by the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence this last Saturday, and attended the May Day event out in front of the courthouse and over at Eureka Theater that was sponsored by Central Del Pueblo and the Building Trades Council of Humboldt and Del Norte counties and the Humboldt Del Norte Central Labor Council. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Councilmember Contreras-Deloach.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Take Your Kids to Work Day for the city of Eureka. I missed you, Mayor. I was at the first half of that with Finn. And we got to go over and do a tour of EPD too, which was very cool. I got to see the service dog, and Will is not here, but Will actually, or Director Folger, actually put on the suit and worked with the police dog, and better him than me. I recorded it, but a little bit intimidating, but very entertaining to all of the kids, and they got to learn about how fingerprints work, and it was was very nice. The staff did a really good job of putting something really cool together for all of the children. I attended the CASA fundraiser, Hope Blooms. That's court-appointed special advocates that work with foster children. I also attended the fundraiser for North Coast Rape Crisis team, their fundraiser as well. And they honored Kyla Baxley, who's one of the lead investigators with the district attorney's office, and she does a lot of work with a lot of people in the community who have experienced violence. And she's a remarkable person, very compassionate, but also very professional law enforcement, and she was honored. I also attended a Board of Supervisors meeting. It was like the longest meeting ever. And so yeah, and they need to do a redo because they had some issues with their stream. But I got to hear and I got to see Director Asbury there. There was a presentation specifically on tourism, and kind of it's interesting that you're looking at this too, because I've really been kind of like, okay, how do we expand this? Like, what are we looking at? And I got to be there for that and listen to the plans moving forward on some of the tourism funding. And then today is Missing and Murdered Indigenous Peoples Day. And so that's where I was this afternoon. Went on, it was Yurok and Wiyot, and wanted to thank EPD for making sure it was safe for all the people that attended, and also Sheriff Hansel came to support everybody as well and just attend and go on the walk. So there was a walk to honor people. Humboldt County really breaks records. Humboldt, Del Norte, Trinity really breaks records with the amount of murdered and missing Indigenous people. Were a standout. And so talking about, changes, how they do that. And it was very informative, but also very sobering. Excuse me. On the 21st, I'm sorry, I got a little choked up. On the 21st, we coming up, EOPA, Elected Officials to Protect America, is going to have a meeting in Blue Lake. And that one's on energy security. The one that they just had a month ago was on microgrids. So that's coming up. And then also Thursday at 6 p.m., I'm speaking at the National Day of Prayer here locally. So if you guys want to, come, and so is Commander Rabang, and there'll be a number of us from the community. So inviting you all officially.
What time is that?
6 p.m.
In the evening. Thank you. Well, let's see, I've done a few things, I suppose. I'm going to really not say this name correctly, I promise you, but the Guwick Howduck Wiyot multifamily, did I say it wrong? Housing development had their groundbreaking. Forgive me, I try. And so that was always a great event. William Frank, the young Sonny, he is the one that opened it up with the prayer. A lot of great conversations, and I just love that we are continuing to build relationships with our tribes and to embrace those friendships and carry on. And I'm grateful that that project is going forward. I attended Take Your Child to Work Day, and we had a mock council meeting with many of the children. They are so cute. They all got these mini gavels that they could take home. And they're just so engaged. They had so many questions. They raked City Clerk Pam over the coals on some of the items. So that was really a lot of fun. And I'm glad that was fun because that Friday I attended the Children Memorial Flag Raising, which is to honor children that were murdered or that have died through violence and all of those kinds of things, and abuse. That's always a very difficult thing to attend just because it's so heartbreaking. And that happens more often than I think any of us would like to acknowledge. I too attended the Casa Gala, the fundraiser, and I want to just tell you that there was this speaker there their name was Joe, and they told their incredible story of working with their CASA advocate over their life. And it was just, they started late with CASA. And it was just so beautiful to hear the success story in that. And it just, for me, it always just affirms that, we are resilient. We may not be rubber bands, but we do make impacts with the way that we treat people and the way that we interact. And I just really appreciate that. Let's see, I went to the HCOG special meeting where we discussed the RENA numbers and the, not the petition, what was it? We filed what do they call it? It's escaping me right now.
Please refer what you're talking to again, please.
Oh, I'm talking about HCOG, and we sent a letter in
for the
opposition to the RENA numbers. What's that called?
So we appealed the calculation for the RENA numbers.
Thank you.
yes.
I could not think of the word appeal to save my life right there. But we discussed that, and that has been set aside. And we also will be hiring a new executive director, and I'm on that committee, so that's kind of fun. I attended Dancing in the Rain for North Coast Rape Crisis, and again, it was such a beautiful event, well attended, and so important. And both CASA and North Coast Rape Crisis, they're experiencing huge cuts in their financing, and they're critical services for our community. So I would encourage people to reach out if you can and be supportive of them. Let's see, I spoke at the American Association of University Women last Saturday. And that was really, they're just great women. And then lastly, and very interesting and engaged. And then lastly, Councilmember Moulton mentioned it, but I'll mention it one more time. Friday night, the Humboldt Literacy Project is having a fundraiser. It's a trivia contest. It's at Sequoia, Conference Center. Yes, Sequoia Conference Center, 5:30ish, and we'd love to see you there. Help support reading. You absolutely can.
I just wanted to say that you can enter as a team of 4, or you can enter as an individual, and the individuals also get to participate in the contest and submit joke answers and bet on the other participants and things like that. So it's a great way to support learning and reading learning in our community.
And it's always a fun event. So that moves us to the consent calendar. All matters listed under this category are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. Pursuant to City Council Resolution 2011-22, if a member of the public would like an item in the consent calendar pulled and discussed separately, the request shall be made to a council member prior to the meeting. Unless a specific request is made by a council member, the consent calendar will not be read and there will be no separate discussion. And we will be pulling G5, but could we get a motion to accept the rest of the?
I'll move that we remove item G5 and approve the remaining consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
4 yes votes, Councilmember Bauer absent, motion carries.
Okay, so G5 is a request for a fee waiver for the 2026 Kinetic Sculpture Race Day 1 and Kinetic Fest, an overnight stay. I'm just reading it out loud and to let you know that Councilmember Castellano will be recusing herself. Did you want to take care of that? And then we'll bring it over to City Manager Slattery.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and Council. This item here is related to the Kinetic Sculpture Race. Annually, they request a waiver of the fee for the rental of Halverson Park and also a waiver of our no camping overnight in our parks as a part of their event that they host down at Halverson Park. So staff is recommending that you waive the fee and the one-time camping overnight for the event this year.
Great. Do we have any questions from council? Councilmember Moulton?
Just for transparency's sake, what is the fee for renting Halverson Park that we're waiving?
I'm not going to be exact, but I believe it's about $55 for 3 hours, and then there's additional hour charges after that. It's very nominal. I would say it's less than $300 for the amount of time that is there. Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Fernandez?
And how long have we been doing this for this event, and what are some other groups we've done this for?
We've done it for many events. We've done it more recently for Juneteenth. We've sponsored certain events, which includes Canifest, and that's been waived. Bark in the Park, I don't think they get a waiver. But yes,
the
we've
Kite
done it
Festival.
multiple. What's that?
Kite Festival.
Oh, the Kite Festival, yes. Mhm.
Okay. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll open this item up to the public. Is there anyone in chambers that would like to comment on this item? Come on up. Hello again.
So beautiful having access to Halverson Park there by the bay. Apparently it used to be the site of a historical mill. And yeah, it's great to see the different events there. My concern is that the dogs are pooping out there, and residents are not picking up after their dogs. And that's pretty much routine around the city of Eureka. You see a lot of dog feces.
So excuse me for a moment, but this actual item is to do with waiving the fee for the kinetic
Yes, I
sculpture
realize
race.
that. I
So
think
if we
that's a
could
great.
stay on task.
We
Okay.
should definitely waive that fee, but yeah, there needs to be more enforcement of people and homeless people with dogs that don't pick up after themselves, because a space like Halverson Park is ruined when you have nowhere to put a blanket or put a. So yeah,
So I'm gonna
waive the
direct you-
fee,
okay.
but with conditions of dog and pet more cleanliness, basically. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to comment on this item? Seeing no one, do you see anybody on Zoom?
I see no one on Zoom.
So we'll bring this back to council for a motion in a second. Councilmember Moulton?
Sorry, I'll move staff recommendation, please.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Further comments? Seeing none, please vote.
3 yes votes. Councilmember Bauer absent. Councilmember Castellano absent.
Oh, please vote. You did vote. It just didn't show up?
Sorry, motion carries. It was up.
Okay, thank you.
I did it
Come
real
on-
quick.
Come on back, Councilmember Castellano. Thank you. All right, legislative action correspondence, Councilmember Fernandez.
Yes, I had a request here for us providing a letter of support in public comment for the California Energy Commission's proposition for offshore wind development, offshore wind ports development program, POP-D funding. So they have their public comment period, I believe, open through almost the end of this month, but I believe it might end before our next meeting. So it's something I would terribly like to get done. It's something we discussed at the REDEC meeting just last week and have put together a letter of support. The ask here is that there's a limited pool of funding. We lost a huge amount that the federal government clawed back, and this may at least help us with the development of that port. And so right now it's largely between us and Long Beach, and this is something that I would say that we need more than Long Beach at this point.
So thumbs up, thumbs. So looks like we have consensus on that.
Okay, and I can provide that to city attorney for reference.
We have it.
Perfect.
Thank you. So this brings us to report and action items. Offshore drilling ordinance with City Manager Slattery.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening again, Mayor and Council. At the April 7th meeting, Council Okay, thumbs up to bringing back a draft ordinance that would prohibit onshore support facilities for offshore drilling. And then it was brought up again, I believe, at our last meeting. And our city attorney's office reached out to, I want to get this correct, the Mills Legal Clinic at Stanford Law School, who had a draft ordinance that we tried to use as a template for our ordinance. They drafted the ordinance, made adjustments for our community. That was forwarded on to our development services and our planning division for review. They determined that that ordinance wouldn't work for the city of Eureka due to the fact that we have coastal dependent industrial property that's in our coastal zone. By ordinance, it wouldn't supersede our local coastal program. And so using that as a template and trying to use that as a way of preventing onshore support facilities for offshore drilling would be a much more onerous project. It would require that we amend our coastal dependent industrial zoning district. Right now, those type of facilities are principally permitted. And so what staff is recommending and wanting to get direction upon from council on is to, in the interim, do what's similarly what the Humboldt County has done, pass a resolution, bring a resolution back for council's consideration about the opposition for offshore oil drilling, and then incorporate into our ongoing update to our local coastal program some amendments to the coastal dependent industrial zoning district to prohibit those types of uses in that zoning district. Another concern that was expressed from our planning department is that the draft ordinance was very used kind of aesthetics as a reason as to why it wouldn't be amenable to their community, because of we have a tourist type economy, and this was based on that, that the industrial look would take away from that. And there was concern by staff that with what we believed would be supported by council wind energy would have that same kind of industrial effect. And so there would be a lot more thought needed to be put into how you adjust those allowances in that zoning district to make sure that it's compatible with our community. So if there's any questions, I'm available.
Do we have any questions for City Manager Slattery? Councilmember Contreras-Deloche?
Thank you, Mayor. City Manager, can I ask for an expansion of exactly what is the definition of onshore support facilities? What does that entail exactly?
That's a really good question. The way that it's described in the ordinance, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't really, once we found out that this wasn't for our use, I didn't get too involved in how those were defined. There are definitions and there are ways of categorizing onshore support facilities for offshore drilling that I don't think that's going to be an issue in defining that and trying to prevent that from happening.
I think mainly my reason for asking this question is, there's a discussion around offshore wind, which would place very large, 900-foot tall cranes, and we'd have barges going in and out, and clearly that would be visible, which, I think demonstrates a problem with a focus on any kind of visibility issue as being a reason, like what we just talked about. It would seem, I don't know if the right word would be hypocritical, but, to say that about something on site for drilling, but not with, if it was just based off of visual aesthetics. But I also was wondering, because if we don't have any say over offshore leases for oil or anything else, I'm just kind of wondering what exactly that would be, onshore support facilities, and whether or not we know enough to say we don't want anything like that if they were doing something.
I brought that up not because that's a problem. There's nothing preventing us from stopping that from happening. We just don't want to use that argument because it could be
No, I think it's a poor
punitive.
argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we could use it, and that's what this ordinance was based on. What we're saying is using that may potentially be prohibitive to wind energy, and there's other ways of describing it other than those aesthetics to prevent those things from happening.
Do you know, has staff compared what Arcata, Blue Lake, and then I guess the Harbor District is now also considering something? Have you guys looked at those and know anything about what's going on with those?
So the only action I know of a local jurisdiction taking action is Humboldt County. I would say that Arcata does not have any facilities that would be compatible with this. They have some coastal areas, but they wouldn't have access to the bay in order for them to have the ability to have those onshore support facilities like we do, because we have docks and access to the entrance and access to federal channels, all of those things.
Maybe theirs is just a broader objection to offshore drilling. Maybe it's
Likely.
an ordinance. I wasn't sure if they were passing something similar to this. Thank you.
Councilmember Castellano, did you ever hear that? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Firstly, I'm curious about the potential timeline for. I know this has come before us, but for just updating the local coastal.
So right now we are aiming for having this to council before the end of the year, and then having it to. It is one of our. Oh God, I'm gonna lose the name. Anyway, it's part of our housing element and our general plan update. In order to be a pro-housing, this is one of our, and I'm losing the term, and Kristen isn't here, but there's different goals, IMP 34, different goals that we have as a part of our housing element. This is one of them. And we plan on getting it to the Planning Commission likely sometime this summer, and then go through that process and bring it to council. And then after that, it needs to go to the Coastal Commission for certification.
Okay, thank you. And then, let's see, I'm kind of, firstly, what would a resolution in opposition accomplish?
Just your stance on offshore drilling. It wouldn't hold any legal bearings. However, we've talked to the Coastal Commission. We can't pass an ordinance that adjusts our local coastal program.
Right. And then, this is, again, probably a bit of a off-the-wall idea, but I'm curious, in terms of at this moment, it's not too late it would be very fast to try to put something on the ballot in terms of some sort of environmental protection kind of, take it to the voters to establish
You would still, I would liken that to the balloon track when they did the balloon track and they did the ballot measure in order to change the zoning. While that was approved by the voters, it doesn't happen overnight. It still requires a certification of the Coastal Commission in order to have that pass, even if it was a ballot measure that was approved.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm just, and right now I'm kind of in the thinking aloud phase, because that's, the route we thought we were going to take is not the route we're going to take. And so I'm, just kind of curious in terms of, right, what kinds of coastal protection policies can be, applied at the level of a city.
Well, it was interesting when we did this with coal. There was a workaround to it where we didn't want the coal being transported through here, and so we didn't have to change any zoning or anything. This is very unique in the sense that it's, we own the majority of the tidelands that are in the bay. We own a lot of, bayfront properties in the bay, adjacent to the bay, but those are all regulated through our local coastal program.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I was just kind of researching. I guess there's some blue wall ordinances, and I know that some of those, right? We're in a unique position in which we have sort of these permitted uses already established. So, and yeah, we'll talk about it more. But I definitely support the moving forward the local coastal plan work. Okay.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, would anybody from the... Oh, Councilmember Contreras-Deloach?
I'm just wondering if council can help me understand a little bit better. If it's going to be offshore, and we have, not meaning the bay, but meaning out in the ocean, and we would have no say over that anyway. I'm curious what we are trying to, as a council, prevent and what jurisdiction we think we have in preventing that. If somebody could help clarify that for me.
I'm not council, but I think that what it would do is so let's say if the county chose to do this and they move, so any jurisdiction within the city of Eureka limits, if we changed our LCP, the access to our port is very significant in offshore drilling. And so having the ability, similar to wind energy, where they have a port and they're going to be developing turbines that they can develop there and take out there, there's other support facilities, whether they be elevators for the shafts, whether they be whatever they may be, for the purpose of supporting offshore drilling. We could regulate that so that within our jurisdiction, so it wouldn't count Samoa, it wouldn't count anything like that, but within our jurisdiction, those types of facilities would not be allowed in our bay. It would make it more difficult for them to have offshore oil drilling if they didn't have those support facilities easily accessed in our port.
And these support facilities themselves would be potentially sources of pollution? I just, I don't know enough about it. That's why I was asking,
I mean,
what
they would
is
support
onshore?
an industry that would, potentially create widespread pollution or oil spills. And then also just the entrance and exit of those to our harbor would for sure increase the likelihood of that.
No, I understand that. I think I wasn't clear on what onshore facilities are and if we didn't have a definition of that, how we know that they're inherently related to something that causes pollution, but I wasn't sure what we're saying causes pollution. It's fine. I'll take time and research this. We've got, time on it. Thanks.
And it would seem to me that by not allowing the infrastructure in our region, in our city, that would make it more difficult for offshore drilling, which is something that we thought about before you were born, probably in the 70s. My mom did, at least. Okay. Councilmember Fernandez.
Yeah, just looking at some old municipal codes. One here from Trinidad, of all places, from what I think 2012. They define what onshore support facilities look like in theirs, and there's probably about 16 of them, and I'll just highlight a few: oil industry repair and maintenance yards, general shore support facilities, petrochemical complexes, refineries. And again, there's more to that list, but those are some examples.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So if there are no further questions, we'll open this item up for public comment. Does anybody in chambers come to speak on this item? Hello? Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Matt Simmons. I'm the climate attorney at the Environmental Protection Information Center. Thank you to the council for indicating to staff that you'd like to take a stance on this really important issue. The first Earth Day was celebrated after an oil spill off the coast of Santa Barbara that destroyed ecosystems and communities and beaches for many years afterward. And so the fact that there's this big federal push now to restart offshore oil drilling off the coast of California, starting south of us, but including Northern California, is truly terrifying. EPIC supports the council taking the action of this resolution at this time. The city of Arcata did pass a resolution also opposing offshore oil. The county has moved as well. Part of the strategy here is to have communities up and down the entire state and into Oregon and Washington all say together jointly, the entire West Coast doesn't want this, to send as strong of a signal as possible. EPIC also supports updating the local coastal program and sort of dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's to make sure this is legally enforceable as possible. And so we support you doing that. One thing I wanted to add is that while we were talking about the local coastal program and potential extractive industries that we should be on the lookout for, another industry that the current federal administration is supporting is offshore mining. So this is where you take minerals out of the deep sea, you scoop them up and you bring them back to shore, and then you have to dump all the stuff that you dredged, off of the bottom of the ocean floor and sift out the little tiny bits of precious metal that you find there. They have proposed projects in Guam and Alaska, but there are precious metal sulfide deposits off the coast of California as well. And so EPIC is part of a coalition of groups that are looking at potential ways to oppose that extractive industry as well. And so we will come back to the city about this as the local coastal program is being updated. But we'd be interested in the city also taking a position against offshore mining in addition to drilling. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Come on up. Hi. Welcome.
Well, how are you? And Kim, thank you. I appreciate you. Renee, I appreciate you. My name is Daniel Smith, and I am running for 5th Ward City Council. Now, as far as we're talking with putting wind farms up off the coast, I think a lot of people fail to realize that it takes a lot more fuel to actually manage these things off of the coast. So everyone sits there and talks about how realistic having the electrical offshore wind farm sitting there spinning. But
So
do you know-
Daniel, excuse me just one moment. So this is actually about oil rigs, right?
well,
not the
rigs
power?
or the wind farms.
No,
Because I'm
drilling.
assuming-
The drilling.
It's about offshore oil drilling and an ordinance related to onshore support facilities.
So it's
Sure,
different
with
than
all with well, ultimately, it costs more money in electricity to even fuel these things. Period. End of story. How do I know that? My father, he builds all of the electrical substations out in Southern California. Like, I mean, it's pretty easy to know that if you're building wind farms or any type of circumstance to, help fuel our communities, it takes fuel to do that, and I think a lot of people forget that, and I think if you talk to people who actually are part of that channel, you might get a little bit more information, but hell of a lot more gas goes into these electrical systems that everyone wants to get into. But I just wanted to point that out for everybody else. And yes, I know we're talking about.
we are talking about oil
and
drilling.
subs-
We're
drilling
not
and stuff like
talking
that.
about wind farms.
Sure, but ultimately, it all comes down to the same thing. So yeah, there's not much more to say about that. I know that everyone wants to get in there and put their 2 cents in and what they think they know, but it's there's a lot more to it, and I encourage you guys to research it a little bit more. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Jen Calt with Humboldt Waterkeeper. Thanks for bringing this up tonight. And of course, Humboldt Waterkeeper strongly supports banning onshore support facilities for offshore oil drilling, gas drilling, and also deep sea mining, which we have recently learned there's a deposit off our coast that is one of the only ones in the lower 48, and the USGS recently did a survey out there, so it is really a concern. I wanted to address the questions about what onshore support facilities are, and they would be pipelines, oil and gas pipelines, they would be mineral processing facilities, they would be refineries, but also a really important one is power plants. And Humboldt Waterkeeper was formed in 2004 after the city of Eureka had entered into, or almost entered into, an exclusive right to negotiate with a company that had planned on importing liquefied natural gas and building a power plant at the city of Eureka's airport in Samoa. I know that's in the county's jurisdiction, not the city's jurisdiction, but that's the type of onshore support facilities that are within local municipalities' power to control. So as Matt Simmons said, We as voters in the city or the county of Humboldt can't control what happens in the federal offshore lease areas. What you have control over is those onshore support facilities within the city of Eureka. And so we strongly support both a resolution and moving forward with the LCP update and working with the Coastal Commission, which is working with other jurisdictions, including Humboldt County, to do the same thing. In 1988, the voters of Humboldt County voted overwhelmingly for Measure B, which requires a vote of the public to change the zoning or the general plan or the LCP to allow such facilities. So other jurisdictions are working with the Mills clinic, whatever law clinic that Miles talked about, to get those codified into ordinances and LCP updates. But here it's a little more complicated because it's already allowed. So we strongly encourage you to do that as soon as possible because we know these are all real threats off of our coast. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no one else in chambers, I do see someone online.
Colin?
Good evening. This is Colin Fisk with CRTP. I really just want to echo the comments from Jen Colt and Matt Simmons. You usually hear from me about sort of the other end of the oil supply chain and the need to reduce our dependence on fossil fuel transportation. And I think this is a reminder of yet another reason why that's important, because the entire supply chain is dirty and harmful of health and the climate. And I just want to encourage the city to do everything within its power to prevent offshore drilling by addressing onshore facilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. I don't see anyone else on Zoom, do you?
I see no one else.
So we will bring it back to council. So what we're looking for is to provide direction. Are there any comments? Councilmember Castellano, then Fernandez. And then Melton.
Sure. Thank you, and thanks to Matt and Jen and Colin for your comments. I just want to reiterate that, I support moving forward with addressing this through the LCP update, and hopefully we can, I know it's so much work, and so, as fast as we can, move it forward. I think not might as well, but it'd be great to go ahead with a resolution as well and to incorporate offshore mining with that. And then, I guess just putting it out there that if there are other ways we can be proactive, let's continue to think about them, and definitely want to make sure that we are kind of on, at the head of this potential threat.
Are we seconding?
No, we're not voting. We're just providing direction.
Okay.
Councilmember Fernandez?
Yeah, it's been like 6 weeks since we've had a resolution, so why not? I'm I'm super supportive of this as well. But going back to the notion, I think one of the public commenters had brought up about how Humboldt County had passed an ordinance at the voter level. Is that something similar we could work into this, or maybe I misconstrued that?
I believe as a public commenter had spoken, we already allow it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was to prevent it from happening in the future. We'd have to go through the same process, whether it was by a ballot or not. We could it would actually delay the process if we went to the ballot, because we would have to wait until November until that vote was done. And then we'd have to incorporate it into the LCP.
Oh, so following this process, we could still do the resolution, do an ordinance, and then after that ordinance,
we won't need an ordinance after we do the LCP update.
Okay. So after that LCP update, then we could probably take something to the voters to be like, hey, we would like to really cement this as well.
No, as long as it goes through as a part of the LCP update, we're going to be posing a lot of different changes to our zoning regulations in the coastal area.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, it goes to Planning Commission. They make comments on it. We bring it to you. You guys make comments on it. Once you guys bless that, it goes to the Coastal Commission. They review it. and then they make comments, make adjustments, make special conditions, whatever it may be. And then after they certify it, that's law. It's just like it's law now that offshore oil support facilities are principally permitted. This would make it so that offshore oil facilities are not permitted at all, whether conditionally or principally.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Moulton?
I just want to comment that I attended the meeting on January 18th at the Wharfinger Building with groups like EPIC and Humboldt Waterkeeper, and it was standing room only. It drew a crowd from across the county. It got our congressman here to talk about it, and that there was widespread opposition to offshore drilling in general, but especially here on our pristine North Coast. And I think that any effort we can make to oppose this as a city or utilize the city's power to enact that will of the people would be appropriate. I mentioned there that I'm from the Gulf Coast side of Houston, Texas, and where there are offshore drilling rigs dotting the horizon everywhere you can look, and that the pollution that they produce makes the beaches there gross. The best they can do is a minimum of pollution, is a minimum of spills. There's no such thing as a clean oil rig that isn't dumping pollution into the surrounding waters. I think we should protect our coast, protect our bay, protect our fisheries, protect our tourism, and protect our environment in general at the base, and then protect against the larger effects of increasing fossil fuel usage, which causes man-made climate change, and we should avoid making that worse.
Thank you. Councilmember Contreras-Deloche?
Yeah, so with regards to the what we're talking about now is doing a resolution and then the update later on. With regards to that, are we going to, or can we make sure that we have a fine point on all of that and we kind of do the research that lists all these different various things that we're trying to target and keep out?
As I'm sure council is aware, there are tons of findings that need to be made when we make these adjustments, and they have to be reviewed and approved by the Coastal Commission based on the Coastal Act and making sure that you're protecting resources while still providing coastal access and all of those things. So yes, it'll be very clearly defined as our code is now. They list actual uses that are principally permitted, and there's very long lists for all of our zoning designations.
Okay. Thank you.
So do you feel like you have direction?
I believe I do.
Okay, great. Well, then we shall, we do need to take, I know there's only one more item, but I need to take just a 3-minute break. So let's take a short break and be back for the final item. This moves us, we're back, by the way. This moves us to future agenda items. Anybody have any? Okay, seeing no one, we'll move to city manager reports.
Thank you,
City
Mayor, and
Manager
good evening
Slattery.
again, Mayor and Council. I was just going to give a little prelude to and an update on the timing for our budget process for this year. We had originally planned on introducing the budget at our next meeting, but we're going to move that to the special study session on the 26th of May, when we also will be looking into the charter updates. And then the first meeting in June is when we'll bring it back again. So we'll do an introduction and a special study session on the 26th as a part of that meeting. As far as budget right now, we worked with staff in order to try and reduce the reductions in our budget, and we've gotten to the point where we're at about 2.23%, and we plan on putting that across the board to all of our departments. Obviously, where we have areas that can help out some of our larger departments, we'll look into that as well. This will also include the mayor's accounts as well as the city council's accounts. So we're looking at a total cut between all three of you of like 6,000 or something like that. And so we'll likely be looking into, isn't it 1,000 for the mayor and 5 for the council? So it's about 6 total. We may need to look into reductions of travel, those type of things, because that's the majority of the budget. But we'll bring that back for your guys' consideration as a part of that budget process. So that's where we're at. Just wanted to give an update on the timing and then where we're at with the budget.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for City Manager Slattery at this time? Well, had we known you were going to be so brief, usually we just never know with you. No, she didn't have her hand up. So with that, thank you all who decided to stay for the full meeting. We appreciate you. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Don't drink and drive. We're adjourned.